Become the person you pretend to be. Assalamu alaikum, and peace and blessings of God be upon every single one of you. I am Imran Muhammad, aka the Pattern Interrupter. Here we talk about and speak about the journey of manhood through the lens of faith, how to be strong but also soft, how to lead but also to listen. My beloveds, you're listening to this podcast, the Sacred Man Experience podcast. Most people are performing a version of themselves they have not yet become. Today's conversation is a conversation regarding what we project to the world, but what we are in reality within ourselves. And that's where the difficulty lies, where the dichotomy exists, where the struggle is. I want to project a positive image, right? We project discipline, we project confidence. I want to project spirituality. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a pious person. I want to project that I'm a strong and physically, mentally stable person. I want to show to the world that I have leadership qualities and abilities. But privately, behind closed doors, the behavior is very different. It doesn't match the projection. It doesn't match the image that we have created. It doesn't match the exterior that we have presented to the world. And this in itself creates internal conflict. Because pretending one thing and being something else, let's get truthful about this, becomes very exhausting, very tiring, very challenging, and difficult. How long can I keep up a certain behavior which is not me? How long can I speak in a particular way which is not me? How long can I say to the world, this is me, but the moment I close the door, the moment I switch off the screen, the moment I am not in the public arena, when I'm not in the boardroom, when I'm not with my colleagues, suddenly the reality is thrown into my face, what I am to myself. Now, the gap between the image and the reality, let's look at this. Many men and women, and of course my conversation is very centered around men and men's behaviors. So many men carefully manage perception, right? They want to appear, men generally want to appear focused, strong, productive, spiritually grounded, stable, emotionally balanced. This is what we all desire. And that's what we want to project to the world. I want to show to the world, you know what, you can invest in me. You can give me money, you can give me wealth, you can give me position. I can be the leader that you are looking for. Deep down, many of us know the truth. Many of you know the truth. The behavior is inconsistent. The discipline is unstable. The private life does not match the public image. And eventually what happens? This gap creates, oh my Lord, deep anxiety. Fear of the future. What could happen? Would my veil be removed? Will my mask slip? Will my reality become apparent to the world? What will happen? This is the anxiety that creeps in. So the question then is, which is a significant question, is this, that why people pretend? Why is it that we project a certain image, but in reality we are something else? Because pretending creates temporary protection. That's what it is. People admire the image. They respect the image. They approve of the image. Now, but approval built on performance creates pressure, immense pressure. Think about it from your own perspective. Is there a time that you were behaving in a certain way, which is not your reality, which is not your default, which is not your inner self? And all the time in the back of your head, you're thinking to yourself, what about if someone finds out? I don't know these languages. I haven't studied this. I can't ride a horse, even though I've gone for a part in a particular program or a particular show or a movie, for example, and it's for horse riding. It's an important part, skill that they desire, but I don't know how to do. I wrote it down when I submitted my request for the job, that I have all of this, but in reality, there is always this fear, worry, anxiety in the back of the head. Because now the person must maintain the illusion constantly. That's where the pressure is. That's where the difficulty is. That's where one starts feeling it's too much. I can't deal with this. It's difficult for me. Now, what would this mean, and what does this state of being in the context of Islamic psychology? Now, there's something called ikhlas versus riya. In Islam, and Islam as a faith, as a religion, as a dogma, as a philosophy, as a way of life, places enormous emphasis on sincerity. Even in mainstream, I work in the mainstream, I work in particular structures. When I went for my job, right, what was on my application was significant because they questioned me on my application. So if I said that I had showed integrity in a particular behavior, if I showed trust in another one, being truthful in another one, it was questioned. Even in mainstream behaviors, engagement, interactions, getting a good job and progression, what we project, which is not true all the time, because we want to create an image which is a perfectionist image, in the same context, from the Islamic paradigm, from the perspective of Islamic psychology, from this particular theology, emphasis is given to sincerity, ikhlas, which means alignment between the inner and the outer self. That's what it is. There is a balance to a certain extent. We all desire to get there. None of us are there. I'm not going to say I am there 100%, fully, completely. None of us are there. We are always a work in progress. That's what we are. And that's the beauty of this. None of us can turn around. No person can say, I am the perfect example. We are not. You know, in the Holy Quran, God Almighty says, خلق الإنسان ضعيف. Man has been created weak. The creation of man is based upon what? That there are always weaknesses. They will fall behind. But the beauty of the human being is this, the acknowledgement of the weakness and try to strengthen that, being truthful to themselves, not just trying to project an image of themselves, which in reality is not what is in private. It's a difficult part which someone plays. So ikhlas is the opposite of riya. Riya would mean performing for people. You're projecting an image which you are not. And most significantly, it's an image that you are projecting is really wearing you down. Okay? It's having a negative impact upon yourself. You're trying to keep up to the image, whereas the image is tiring you. It's eroding you over time. So significantly, the conversation is how do we look at the human's well-being through this process? Where do we create the change? What do we need to do? Now, let's keep this in mind. That the performance here, we're not only talking about religiously, that is also a performance. It can become a performance. But it's also psychologically. Living for appearances, seeking validation through image. And many men, of course, and men and women, are trapped exactly in that space. I have an image. And why do I create that image? Because there is an underlying reasoning behind it. Is it something that I want? I want approval. I want validation. What is it? I want my father, my mother, my relatives, those that I look up to, that I care for, my wife, my children. I want to be seen as strong, but I've not done the work to be strong. So I project an image of being strong, a provider, someone who has the provisions and he can submit and he can all of this. And if it's not coming from a true place, from a real place, that's what your reality is, then what are you doing? The question is, what is the underlying? Is it validation that you desire? Is it approval that you desire? Is it that longing engagement with you, that you can be loved and cared for? What is it? That's where the concern is. That's where and what needs to be dealt with and developed and worked upon correctly. So, what would be the danger of false identity? Let's look into that. Look, eventually, a person becomes disconnected from reality. If this image is kept up continuously, which is not one's reality, it's a mask that they put on, it is a projection that they have done to the world, but it's continuous in the same manner, it becomes tiring, it wears you down, it corrodes you as a person. And eventually, what happens is a person disconnects from their own reality. They stop asking, or you may stop asking, who am I really? That's a powerful question. And only ask, how am I perceived? So the reality is removed, is not talked about. What's talked about is how others see me. What happens? Now you are playing up to others' way of seeing what you are and what success is. You're not challenging yourself anymore. You're not working upon yourself anymore. You're not dealing with or challenging or competing with the older version of yourself anymore. You are more concerned about what others perceive of you. Now, that is a very dangerous, this is truly dangerous spiritually and psychologically, because perception becomes more important than the truth. And when there is an imbalance of the truth within, how long can we hold on to the lie? Let me give you something. Hopefully, this will help you, because my work is constant with individuals, men and women, but predominantly with men and young boys, that they are on a journey, right? And the journey is significant because they are trying to create themselves, build themselves, make themselves. And as human beings, we have flaws. Not all of us are not good at everything. We're not perfect with everything. So what do we need to do? What do? We create shortcuts. And with them shortcuts, we don't achieve the goal that we do. So let me give you an example of this. A prime example, a live example. I once coached a brother who was admired publicly for discipline and leadership. But privately, he admitted he was emotionally chaotic and spiritually disconnected. Now, this is really powerful for me, because when I sit with young men, when I sit with entrepreneurs, when I sit with business people, people who have started and created, some very powerful businesses which support people, care for people, they make money, they've created their name, they are amazing sports personalities, they've done all of that. But within themselves, that has been a projection only. They don't feel satisfied from within. There is a clash with what their reality is, which is the truth, to what they have projected to the world. So privately, there is a very different state. So this individual, this client of mine, his greatest fear was exposure, not failure. His fear wasn't failure. It was exposure, because the image was stronger than the reality. His worry was, people will find out. But I am not this. I aren't this. I haven't done this. I haven't, from within himself. Even though he had created this image and thrown this, a cloak on people's eyes to show that, I am something. I am the Superman that they perceive to be. When reality from inside, he was something else. The great polymath Imam al-Ghazali, may Allah be pleased with him, mentioned something very significant about sincerity, ikhlas. Imam al-Ghazali says, warned and stated that seeking status through appearance corrupts the heart quietly. I want honor, I want position, I want power, I want leadership, I want status, right? To creating a false image. That's not me. Over time, that has an adverse effect upon the inner self, which is the heart. And that happens slowly, like Imam al-Ghazali, may Allah be pleased with him, has stated. And the reason behind this is this. Because eventually, people begin worshipping perception rather than the ultimate truth, which is Allah Himself. God Almighty, the Lord of the world, the sacred essence Himself, has said that you as human beings have flaws, you have weaknesses. But what is admired within us is our effort. And let me share with you, many of the successful men and women in the world, when you hear their journey, when you hear the reality of where they came from, what happened to them, they were harmed, they were hurt, they were raped, they were abused, they were wronged, right? They had no money, they had no wealth. They came from a very difficult space and place, right? And then they worked on that. They worked on that. That journey is what is admirable, is what is looked at, is what people admire and want to learn from. It's not a false, they could hide all of that to show that they are stronger than what they are. But the strength is seen through that journey of theirs. The weaknesses that were seen, that they were in a weak state, in a difficult state. They didn't have a perfect, ability to pronounce certain words or statements. They hadn't studied in high levels of education institutes and influential businesses, or associated with people who had power and position or money or wealth. They didn't. But that's what attracts the rest of the world towards them. But when that doesn't happen, what happens? We start to worship the perception, the false image that we project to the world. Let me tell you something which is a highly significant part of this. Because what we want to do is, okay, fine, I've created this image, I've projected it, I've thrown it out there, right? Sometimes what happens is that image is so powerful, one has difficulty from disconnecting and going back to the reality. Because what one feels, you may feel, I may feel, that maybe this image is what I am, right? Or the image is stronger than my reality. Because if I go back to my reality, I lose everything. I lose the endorsement, I lose the engagement, I lose out in all of the affiliation that I've had. People think like this. So let me share something with you. There's something called alignment. There is a tradition, right, within religious communities and spiritual communities. They say that constantly focus on congruency, balance between the external and the internal. So, in other words, what I say is in my actions. So, speech and action alignment. Public and private life, there is some sort of alignment. It's highly important. Also, intention and behavior. Look, there's a saying of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. He says, "Innamal a'malu binniyat." That indeed all actions are dependent upon what? Upon the intention. You will get what you intend, right? So there is a sense of alignment that is created with action, with behavior, with intention. Because peace requires internal unity. That's where the peace comes from. So there has to be some sort of clear alignment. And when there is not the alignment, what happens? You feel anxious, you feel worried, you feel lost, you continuously feel in a state of fear. What about someone finds out this is not me, but my reality? Let me give you a real solution regarding this. Hopefully, it will help you to start to align, create this alignment, God willing. The answer is not becoming less ambitious. Let me clarify that first. No, it isn't that. We're not telling you to just rein in everything and that's it, it's done. No. The answer is becoming real. If you present yourself as disciplined, be disciplined privately. Yes. Something I heard Tony Robbins say, you know, a gentleman who's worked with thousands, if not millions, of people around the world, who creates this alignment and who helps people to understand the inner and external state, which I thought was really, really profound. And he says that what one does in private, right? 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours, 30,000 hours, 100,000 hours, or whatever it is that they do in private, in public is what they become admired for, right? It is the discipline of the private, right? The falling, the difficulty, the trial, the tribulation, the hardship, which ultimately becomes what? Something which becomes the reason of success and admiration of the world. So, what you project as discipline, where you are a disciplined person, in private, bring some of that projection that you have created, the image, into your private life as well. So, this is the other way around. If you want to project that I am a disciplined person, I am a spiritual person, I am a strong person, I'm a dependable person, right? I have leadership qualities, then let's work the other way. Let's align that with the internal. If you feel that I don't have leadership qualities privately, I don't have strength privately, I don't have discipline privately, I don't have a true sense of spirituality and piety privately, then start developing that. It's the other way around. It doesn't mean discard of what you have created. No, use that as a way of strengthening yourself, because these are good, positive qualities. Only issue is it's been projected falsely. But what if you work on yourself, on your discipline privately? If you present yourself as spiritual, develop your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala privately. Do it. If you present yourself as calm, collective, stoic, learn emotional regulation, genuinely go away and find a mentor, find a coach, find a therapist, right? Or a counselor, or whoever, a sheikh or an imam or someone, a priest, whoever it is that can support you through this process, someone who's gone through that to help you. So suddenly, your external image is something that becomes reality internally as well. Stop managing the image, start building substance. You know it works. All what you have created externally, the image that you have created, which you have projected out there, it works. It brings money to you, it brings clients to you, it brings business to you, it brings people who admire you, they want to work with you. Then what you say to the world, why not do it yourself? Right? That's what it is. Bring what you have created outside inside, which I think is hugely very significant. On the Sacred Man Experience podcast, I always try to bring certain principles which are related to the sacred man. And today I want to give you another principle which I think is significant in becoming the sacred man that we desire to be. The sacred man does not focus on appearing powerful. No. He focuses on becoming aligned, because alignment creates what? Peace. Many of us, we project the image of power and strength and control. But true sacred man, which is a principle, is based upon the idea of what? That we focus on becoming aligned. What we project to the world, we also do it inside, right? We work on that. If my ability to express is difficult, Go and learn. Go to a speech therapist, for example, and change the way you want to, express yourself. Uh, if you have difficulty making money or wealth, or you do all of that anyway, but at the same time, it's not from a real space. You really want to understand how accounts work and how money works and wealth works. Whereas I feel, go and learn it. If you want the world to know, I'm being careful in saying this, because many times if you want something, especially when it comes down to a personal state, which is piety and spirituality, that in itself becomes a concern, because that's rare. That's a show off state of being, yeah, this state of stating that I am something which I'm not, right? So what we are saying is, what you have projected, bring it into yourself, which becomes a crucial and significant sacred man principle. I always want to give you something practical. So hopefully you can bring this into your life, which I use myself. Is highly important, because what I've realized, even myself, stop preaching what you don't practice. It's sometimes a very difficult thing. In my role as a chaplain, as an imam, as a coach, as someone I do mentoring work, I do other type of support and help with a lot of individuals, men, women, couples, children. I do that. And one of the key things that I have to look at myself is that I preach it, I state it, I mention it, so it becomes a projection. Am I doing it myself? Am I working on it myself? Am I making sure that that is implemented within myself or not? Okay. So the practical system, let's close the gap. Okay. So your instruction would be this: identify where image exceeds reality. Identify that. Stop exaggerating your identity. That'll be step 2. Step 3, build private consistency. Where there's lagging, where there is lapses, where there are spaces and vacuums in your identity, in your behavior, right? Build it privately, build it. Go to someone, speak to someone, engage with someone, be with someone. You've got negative patterns in your behavior. You have corrosive, behaviors in your life. You don't know what to do with them, because you've become so addicted to that. It's become second nature to you. You don't know how to break out of that. You don't know how to get rid of that. Go to someone who can help you. Focus on discipline nobody sees. This is huge. Prioritize sincerity over admiration. This is powerful. And how do you do that? You do those actions and behaviors of service, right? Which no one else sees, no one else knows about. It'll be only you, and in my belief as a person of faith, my Lord Almighty will know. That's it. Charitable work, good work, helping the orphans, helping widows, and helping families or individuals in war-stricken countries, in famine-stricken, or whatever it may be around the world, or even in your local community. Quietly go around with a bag and pick up rubbish from the road somewhere. Nobody knows you, nobody knows me, but it's for your own strength. It's building what is within. It's bringing in practical steps in creating alignment, what you are projecting to the world and what you are in reality. So ask yourself daily. This is your daily check-in. Am I becoming the man or the woman I present myself to be? Right? Am I becoming the man I present myself to be? Crucial question. Not perfectly, honestly. Be very, very honest with yourself. Reflection question. Where does your public image currently exceed your private reality? Think about that. Where does your public image currently exceed your private reality? Your battle, my beloveds, is not against the world. It is against illusion, the illusion of identity, the illusion of performance, the illusion of who you pretend to be. Become real, become aligned, become sincere. That is where transformation begins. Find who you really are and be who you really are. That is where admiration lies. That is what individuals truly like and prefer. They don't want perfection. Nobody wants perfection. They want someone who knows. They know I can relate to. I have flaws. This person has flaws, but they have worked on it. And they acknowledge the weakness and the strength that they are projecting to the world. They're trying to align that with their internal weaknesses. You have been created sacred. You are sacred. Till next time, keep your heart and mind in this space that you need alignment with what you've projected to the world and to your own personal reality. Find your sacred. Till next time, peace.